I'll just say it this way. I honor you for what you do. It takes a very special person to be able to work with that age group, because I found it very challenging. So I can only speak to it from a place of having done like motivational stuff or leadership stuff and teaching, but never have been in the classroom long enough to know how to break through and really make an impact on that age group.
It's poop jokes and memes. I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
It makes sense.
You are listening to the Music Ed Mentor podcast, where we teach music educators how to build, manage, and grow thriving school music programs and have long and happy careers. I am your host, and I'd like to think I'm your friend and supporter, even if we've never met, Elisa Jansen-Jones. You can find the resources I create for music educators like you on my blog at professionalmusiceducator.com and, of course, on Facebook. Send me a friend request and we can be friends for realsies. This episode is another in a series of ideas you may want to implement your next school year, since this is something most of us in the U.S. are at least currently thinking about. Today, my guest is student leadership guru Duane Huff. Dwayne's target market is typically high school marching band students, but I feel like developing student leadership, whether in a more formal organization like a band, orchestra, or choir council, or on a more day-to-day level with assigning students responsibilities, is one of the essential roles we have as music educators. And Dwayne helps us figure out why that is. But I had some other questions too, like as a K-8 teacher, how do I implement leadership on every level from ages 5 to 14 and without taking a lot of time and energy to do it? How can I foster individual leadership on a day-to-day basis? How do I help my students even have the desire to lead their peers? What are the real benefits? Is it just having students to throw parties and organize sectionals? Or can they help take some of the many tasks I have off my metaphorical plate? Dwayne and I cover all of this and more in our chat. But first, I want to talk about something I'll be implementing in my classroom to aid in my ultimate mission of maximum efficiency, and that's smart music. I've already decided that practice reports and signed charts, they are done. They are over. They are gone the way of the strobe tuner. But because I still want them to practice at home, I'm going to give them other incentives, like fun songs they actually want to practice and play, rewards for demonstrated skill advancement, and of course, smart music. Smart music provides teachers access to an unrivaled library of music from which to create individualized assessments and assignments for every student. Students in turn receive immediate feedback as they practice each assignment. When they miss a note, it's highlighted. Their best performances are sent back to the teacher for grading and additional guidance. It's assessment streamlined, and it gamifies practice for the students. It's a total win-win-win. You can learn more about what smart music can do for you in your classroom by checking out their many online training videos posted to YouTube. Or you can access the sessions they just taught as part of the 2018 International Music Education Summit. Because yes, you may have missed attending the summit live, but you can now access the entire 35 sessions via the archives. Just go to musicedsummit.org/2018 to learn more. You get to not only watch the sessions, but download the supplemental materials and print your own PD certificate for each session you watch. Now, without further ado, let's talk student leadership with Dwayne. All right, Dwayne, well, thank you for coming on the Music Ed Mentor podcast. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself for our listening audience?
Hello, my name is Duane Huff with Band Leadership Seminars, Band Leadership Online. I'm a leadership speaker, trainer, and coach for students.
And a little bit about your background. How'd you get into doing band leadership?
Right. So that was really an accident, to be honest with you, at least on my part. I had a band director after my first year of high school. He was on his way out. He was about to retire. And he was looking out for the future of the band. And he approached me one day. I didn't even think he knew my name, to be honest with you. But he approached me and he said, Dwayne, you've done a great job this year. I've been paying attention to your playing and to the example you set and your attitude. And me and your peers, the drum major, the section leaders, we think you'd be a great leader. Have you ever considered leadership? And I'm like, I'm not sure I understand what that means. He's like, well, there's a camp this summer where they'll teach you all that if you want to go away and learn how to be a leader, come back and serve the band, is what they call back then the student conductor. And I said, okay, where's the camp? He said, it's back in your hometown. And the reason I laugh is because I had just been transplanted from my hometown. I was homesick. I missed my friends. I wanted to go back to my hometown. And so I'm thinking, hometown, yes, if this leadership thing works out, who cares? I want to go see my people, right? And ended up going to a drum major camp. Actually, it was a band camp that had a drum major component. And didn't know what I was walking into, and ended up in front of the legend himself, Dr. Tim Lotzenheiser. And if anybody's listening who knows Dr. Tim, I don't need to say any more. The man's a legend. He's an icon. I have tons of respect for him, and he's still out there influencing and changing lives today like he was back then. And it changed my life. And so I went and applied all the things Dr. Tim taught to be a leader. And then I ended up drum majoring 6 different organizations, 2 high schools, drum and bugle corps, 2 colleges. Yeah, God, there's another, the All-Star Marching Band. And so it just took me on this journey. But the thing was, is I didn't do it very well. I didn't understand the leadership component of being humble and being a servant. I was really a showman. And I as a result, I made a bunch of mistakes. And so I went on a journey trying to figure out, how do we do this better? How do we help kids, aside of the drama and aside of all the ups and downs of being a leader, how do we get them to capture the essence and understand how to be effective as leaders, but also how to make them better people as a result of leadership? And so my first part of my professional career, I really dug into professional development. Well, actually, since I was 15, I read books. I listened to tapes back then. I went to seminars to learn from some of the greats like John Maxwell, and just fell in love with the whole process of leadership. Was able to do some training in the corporate space before I left it. Started my own company teaching professional development classes. And then 6 years ago, got my first opportunity to work with student leaders. And that's been 6 years past, and it's going strong. So that's kind of the journey that brought me. I just wanted to give back to the students. I just wanted to give them what was given to me.
That's awesome. So, like most music teachers, then you have a passion for helping students.
That's it. I do. And it's fun to see their hearts and the light bulbs, and just, when they realize the subtleties of themselves and the people around them, and they get the insight about how to work with, connect with, communicate, collaborate with their peers, that drama on some level dissipates and they feel better as people. And so I like to see that happen too.
Awesome. Well, I also attended some Dr. Tim trainings, which was really helpful in my formative years. And I too made a lot of mistakes as a leader. So I'm super glad that you made those mistakes as well. So thanks for making mistakes on behalf of all the rest of us. So we all know that in marching band, like that's the big space for student leaders because there is so much going on there. And maybe some of us who have, secondary choirs and secondary orchestras, maybe we have councils as well and develop some student leaders. I know when I was teaching middle school band and orchestra, I had student leaders that I developed, and I started a Tri-M chapter even, and really tried to get the students involved. And it was fabulous. They planned socials, they did volunteer work, and this was grades like 7 to 9 that I was working with. But now I teach K-8. So where is the value in developing student leaders, regardless of our particular current teaching assignment? That's my number one question for you today.
Right. So, I think the sooner we can start helping the kids to see, what I'll say, and you may agree with the essence of leadership is that it's not about us, it's about them. And it teaches them right up front to be selfless, to give, to think beyond themselves, to serve, to do something for other people enthusiastically. And if we get them in the pattern and the habit early, then they grow up expecting to be a servant and to give and to help, to include, to not alienate, to ostracize, to pick on, to bully, to gossip. All of those things we're instilling in them from the very beginning, and they're understanding that they have a responsibility, and they are influential, and they do have power to uplift and to be a light in someone else's life.
So, as a teacher of younger students, if I'm able to provide some ways for my students to serve each other, is that a good front door way to get them to start taking that kind of advanced responsibility, even if they're like 8 years old?
Yeah, and it reminds me of something. I think that's a great idea. It reminds me of something Dr. Tim taught me, and maybe he did when you were in the sessions too. He would tell us to start doing things as simple as whenever we're in the cafeteria, to walk over to someone's table, and if they're finished with their food, offer to take their tray, and go out of their comfort zone and out of their way just to help, to do something for another person. Simple little tasks like that. And then having conversations with them and say, what are some other easy ways that we can be of help or be of service to somebody else around us? What else can we do for people? I think that'd be a great idea.
Nice. I love that. The more I truly find that the more you serve somebody, the more you love that person. Maybe love is a strong word for little kids, or even teenagers. Or maybe it's not. My
Well, I
14-year-old
think
throws around love all the time. And I'm like, you don't actually mean that though, do you? Do you even know what that means? But truly it's like a upward cycle. The more you serve people, the more you love those people, the more you serve those people, and the more you love those people.
and the
And
more those people love you.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's not why we do it though. We love
No, of course not.
ourselves.
Of course, of course. Well, no, but what I'm saying is that cycle is powerful because um, I don't think love is too strong a word in that sense, because I think it's teaching them the real meaning of true love, and that's the ability to selflessly give, right? Even if it's not coming back to you, it's an act, it's a decision to pour into somebody's life and to love somebody through what you do for them, and show that expression, in a very genuine and pure form. And I think kids, the younger ones, before they become jaded as middle schoolers and teenagers, have that pure heart, and so they may get it better than we do.
Well, and it's such a important thing at that formative level. Those of us who have studied adolescent development know that their little brain cells break down in that, 10 to 11-year-old age. And then when they start to hit adolescence, that's when they're really starting to develop who they're going to be as a person, which is why this leadership thing has to happen then if they're going to own it as adults. It's this amazing formative time. I mean, secretly, that's why I wanted to teach middle school band and orchestra. I wanted it. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
loved when I would tell people, and they're like, what do you do for a living? I'm like, well, I teach, middle school band and orchestra. And they'd be like, are you insane? And I'd be like, you know what? If you're in it to change kids' lives, if you're in it to make an impact, that is the age to do it. Sometimes by the time they're in high school, yeah, you can make a little bit of an impact, but not as much as that, formative time. Do you find that that's true in the seminars that you do?
Well, it's interesting. I got my start speaking. I have a friend who's a middle school band director. Everybody loves him. He's great at what he does. Parents love him. Kids love him. He gave me some of my first opportunities to actually open my mouth and speak to kids, and it was to junior high, middle school kids. And I found them very receptive and like sponges. But I got to be honest, whenever my first experience being in a classroom to teach junior high school kids, it was oddly enough, it was a CCD, a religion in the Catholic Church, where they come and they study. And so I was there to facilitate and to lead that class. And the interaction with that age group, I'll just say it this way: I honor you for what you do. It takes a very special person to be able to work with that age group, because I found it very challenging. So I can only speak to it from a place of having done like motivational stuff or leadership stuff and teaching, but never have been in the classroom long enough to know how to break through and really make an impact on that age group.
It's poop jokes and memes. I mean, that's really what it
Well,
comes down to.
it makes sense.
So, okay, so for all teachers, what are the advantages to us as teachers for teaching our students leadership? I can kind of get a little glimmer of how my classroom management might be improved, but there's got to be more to it than that. So, what are the reasons why we might want to be getting students to do more leadership roles?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's, the management of the classroom. I'll build on that. John Maxwell wrote a book called 360-Degree Leadership, and he talks about the fact that when you're training your people and building leaders around you, they become self-sufficient. They take initiative. They're productive. They're on top of their game. And then when they start to realize that there are things going on around them with their peers or with you, where they will take the initiative to come and ask if they can take things off of your plate to do some of the heavy lifting for you. And I don't know in your environment what that would possibly be, but it gets them to think and to help and ease a burden maybe that you have in managing the class. But I think the other benefit is that I see it every day in society. I know you do too. You can pretty much tell the people in society who have either been in band or who have been in band and had leadership development, because they just get it and they see things differently and they walk at a higher level with regards to integrity, respect, kindness, patience, professionalism. So I think the benefit beyond your classroom is the human element of who they become. They become stronger adults, stronger human beings. They're more able to compete. They're more able to function. They're more able to follow through, and keep the promises they make.
So essentially, we're teaching them to be strong leaders so that they become strong people.
Yeah.
Nice. I like that. I like that. That seems like a good reason to do it. So, what are some tips you have for us to teach leadership in our classrooms?
You know, I'm a strong advocate for stories, because we all know how powerful stories are and how we remember them and hold on to them, and they create great memories. And I'm the first one to say that, if you have a story of when you were where they are, even though it's somewhat removed, telling them about the struggles. So tell them about how you pushed through the struggles and how you came out on the other side, so they can see that, yes, there is light at the end of the tunnel. When I was where you are, I struggled through it too. It makes you human to them. It makes them feel like, yeah, you know what? I can make some mistakes. It's not the end of the world. That's how I learn. But I learn through stories. And so if you're able to share some of your wisdom, or a video that shares a story, or make a point to emphasize what you feel leadership is, I think those are very creative ways to go about starting the process of teaching leadership.
So, are there some things that we should be doing daily, weekly, or monthly, like taking time out of our individual lessons? Or should we be setting aside a time on a weekly or monthly basis to really focus on this particular aspect? So, what do you find in your experience works best for teachers that way?
All I can say is that consistency. I mean, if you can be consistent, whether it's once a week, once a month, I wouldn't say once a semester, but once a month, as long as they know it's coming and it's something that you're committed to. First of all, that commitment to it and that follow through on it demonstrates for them a leadership quality in and of itself. But if they're looking forward to it, it becomes part of the culture, it becomes part of what they anticipate. And you get them to invest in doing a little homework and a little research, or finding a story, or finding a video, or finding a fun game that they can play as leaders, and make that something that's part of a regular, consistent routine. I think it's more likely to take, and they're more likely to respect it. And maybe it's more likely to stick.
Well, and I think too, if we feel like we are strong leaders ourselves, then we can be that continuous example of service and leadership. I know that my students see me differently when they come to a community band concert and they see me conducting and serving the community band. You know, when they hear that I have a podcast, first of all, they say, "Are you famous?" And of course I say, "Yes." Right? But I do this as a service to those other people. Or they often see me in mass and serving other people. So, but I know that I'm a strong leader, right? I own that as part of my core values, my core beliefs about myself. But what about teachers who aren't feeling like they're super strong leaders? How can we develop to be better leaders ourselves in our classrooms, our schools, and our communities?
Well, I think self-awareness is the beginning point. And if you're feeling like, or if a teacher's feeling like they don't have strong leadership qualities, or that they know they need to develop those things, then what a great journey to take with your students. Because if you dive into some of the leadership greats that are out there and study them and pull wisdom and then apply it in the classroom, in the community, and then you work with the students to help them see and to teach them, you're taking that journey together, you're growing together, and they're seeing again that human element from you, that transparency that says, you know what, even at this point, it's never too late, it's never too early to really invest in becoming a better leader, and to invest myself in the journey and the process of growth.
So are there some exercises that we can do for ourselves to feel like we're more confident leaders?
Well, it's interesting. The self-assessment of being able to lead yourself personally. That's what my mentor, John Maxwell, would say. He would say, before you can lead others, you have to lead yourself. So what are some of the things, talking about activities or things that you can do, what are some of the things that you're seeing around you that, take a self-assessment. What's good and what are some of your opportunities? Right now, if I knew or had to guess, what am I as a leader, or how am I as a leader? If I gave myself a rating on a scale of 1 to 10, where do I find myself? Great. Okay. Well, what areas am I good at? Am I naturally a servant? Am I naturally a giver? Or am I assertive? Am I strong whenever I have my convictions and I have to get my words across? Am I consistent? I think one of the biggest lessons I had to learn as a leader was to be consistent. I was inconsistent all over the place. So what I'm saying is an activity of self-assessment, or self-assessment, and then being able to say, okay, here's 1 or 2 things that I'm going to focus on until I get them where I want to be, and then continually check them off as you go, and building upon them is a first activity of assessment to see where we are, and then being able to attack one thing at a time, or 1 or 2 things at a time, so we can grow intentionally.
Okay, so going back to our students, is there one activity we can do with them? That first week of school before we get instruments out, before we really get into the curriculum, we're always looking for great getting to know you kind of activities. Is there something that you would recommend we do that kind of sets us on the right foot for leadership and service development?
The one that I like, and the kids love this, is I'll have them take out a piece of paper, just regular notebook paper, or, a blank piece of copy paper, and take a pen or a pencil, and right there at their desk, they can do it. I'll have them draw a line down the center. I'll have them have the paper landscape, not top to bottom, but side to side. And I'll have them draw a line right down the center. On the left-hand side, I'll have them write the word band. On the right-hand side, I'll have them write the word me. And what I ask them to do, and I give them 10 minutes to do it, I'll say, what I want you to do is draw pictures or symbols that represent what it is that you love most about band. And on the right-hand side, draw pictures and symbols that represent who you are outside of band. What do you like? Who are you? What are you passionate about? What are your favorite things? Stuff like that. But just don't write any words and don't write any numbers. Tell us in pictures. And then I'll set the activity and they go. Now, the way that we run this activity and what it's designed to do is it's designed to facilitate conversation in an easy way, so it's not awkward to have conversations with each other. And so what I'll tell them is, what we're going to do here in a moment is I'm going to get you to stand up, and we're going to walk around and have a social gathering to get to know each other. And what's going to help us to do that are the pictures that you have drawn on this piece of paper. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, as you go around the room, learn as much about each person that you speak to as you possibly can. And the best way to do that is ask them a question about the picture rather than guess. Now, when they've been drawing their pictures, what I'll do is I'll draw some up on the board, and I'll ask them, okay, you see some pictures up here. Go ahead and learn as much as you can about me. How would you do that? Raise your hand. And generally what students will do is they'll point to a picture and they will guess. You like pizza. Yep. You like the saxophone? Uh-huh. You like to go to the beach? Yes, I do. Very short answers. And what it shows them is that if you're not asking good questions of the people that you're speaking with, chances are the conversation's not going anywhere. So I empower them with a couple of little phrases that they can use, such as tell me about, explain, and describe. And then I say, okay, now use one of those statements and ask me about these pictures. And they'll say, well, tell me about that round shape with all the dots on it. I'll say, oh, that's pizza. I absolutely love pizza. And when I was in band, I could not get enough pizza. And today, one of my favorite pizzas is from my son, who loves pineapple and pepperoni and bacon and sausage on the pizza. And his name's Noah, so we call it Noah Pizza or Noah Bear Pizza because that's his nickname. And what it illustrates for them is that if they ask the right questions, and you can, as an educator, you can give them more open-ended questions that they can ask. When they go around and they play this activity and they're genuinely focused on getting to know as much as they can about the people, what they do is they ask these questions and give the other person a chance to talk. And what they learn is the art of good conversation, because first of all, they learn a lot about each other in a very safe way, that's not awkward to them. But then they also get to see the power of allowing the other person to open up and talk, how it endears that person to them. And it's like one of my favorite sayings says that you can make more friends in 2 hours by being genuinely interested in them than you can in 2 years trying to get them interested in you. And I think that activity sets the tone for that. And I think that is a foundation of effective leadership.
Yeah, I think that's the entire premise of the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Have you read that?
Yes, but I need to read it again.
Well, 90% of it is about how to just get interested in people. And the more that you show that you're interested in people genuinely, the better influence you can be and the better they will like you. So
absolutely.
And maybe that's how you sell it to your teenagers, Do
you
you really want people to like and accept you for who you are? Then what you need to do is like and accept them first.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's funny. That's a dangerous question to ask some students, because you'll say, do you care if anybody likes you? And they'll be like, no.
No, not even you, Miss Jones. I'd be like, feelings mutual.
Especially as I get in the teenage years, right?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay, so let's say that we decide we want to start something really more formal, like a student leadership organization, like a band, choir, or orchestra council. Where's a good place for us to start? What would you recommend?
Okay, cool. Yeah, so no, I think I would pull a couple of the people, the kids that you see who tend to be influential, even if it's in a negative way, because you can channel that and pull them together and have a conversation. Hey, look, guys, kind of like my band director did with me at the end of the year, kind of pulled me aside and said, hey, guys, here's what I'm thinking about doing. And the reason I'm talking to you is because I kind of see the way that you operate, how you take care of things, how you're committed to this. And I want to honor that. And I want to put together a council. And here's what that would mean. And here's what we would do. What are your thoughts on that? And I tell you to approach it that way because there's an old adage that says people support what people help create, and your students are no different. And if they feel part of the creation process because you brought them into that, they feel honored and they naturally lean in and they're like, okay, cool. Some of them may be honest and say, no, I don't want to do that. But I think you give them the opportunity and kind of painting the picture and the vision for what you're trying to accomplish is a great place to start.
Nice. So give them ownership right from the start, and they will naturally step up as leaders if they desire. Super cool. So this has been really, really helpful. Something for all teachers, I think, in our discussion today. So where can we go for more information, more tips and tricks on building student leaders or building ourselves as leaders of students? Where can we get more information from you?
Right. So the easiest way and the best way, the hub, if you will, is my website, www.bandleadershipseminars.com. And from there, you can link to the YouTube channel. There's videos there that I've created specifically for the band community, but I believe the principles are universal. But I think that would be a great starting point. And there you go.
Super cool. So we will add a link to that into our show notes. And of course, like all of our show notes, we'll have some kind of freebie download to help you implement some of the things that we talked about today. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on, Dwayne.
Thank you for having me. It's been an honor.
I hope you gained some great insights and information from my little chat with Dwayne. And I just want to reiterate one major point. If you really want your students to truly develop personal leadership, individual discipline, and improve them as people, and which of us doesn't want that, and in turn improve your classroom management, you have to give them opportunities to serve each other. It's as simple as that. Remember to check out what smart music can do for you in your classroom while visiting smartmusic.com, and check out their many online training videos. While you're there, find this episode's page and discover the show notes. We always provide helpful links and additional information for you there. Just go to smartmusic.com/blog and search podcast. While you're there, I'd love for you to share what you plan to implement in your classroom by commenting on this post. Remember to subscribe to our podcast, rate it, and share this podcast with your fellow music educators. Let's make sure everyone has the opportunity to learn and grow and create the life and career they love. As always, my friends, keep teaching on.